She said it right after dinner, as I was rinsing the plates. No warning, no argument leading up to it, just a quiet, surgical statement dropped into the air between us. I just need some time to figure myself out. No contact, okay. At first I thought she was joking. We'd had a normal day, ran errands, got coffee, laughed at something dumb on TikTok. She wasn't mad. She wasn't sad. She was neutral. And that neutrality hit harder than any fight ever could. When I didn't respond right away, she added, "It's not you. I just feel lost. I don't know who I am anymore." Her tone was calm, steady, practiced, like she'd rehearsed it in her head 100 times before walking into the room. I leaned against the counter, still holding a wet plate. "So, what does no contact even mean? Like, you don't want to talk at all?" She nodded. "Yeah, just for a while. I need to think." She didn't cry. She didn't reach for me. She just looked, composed. I remember thinking how strange it was how someone could break a connection in such a clean, emotionless way. I said, "Okay, if that's what you need." She gave me a small smile, grateful, almost relieved. "Thank you for understanding." Then she hugged me. It was short, mechanical, like something you do because manners require it. The door closed behind her with that soft click that always sounds louder when you know it means something's over. The first few days, I convinced myself this was normal. People take breaks. It's healthy, right? I worked late, hit the gym, cleaned the apartment. Every night I came home to the same silence, the same half-empty bed, and told myself she'd come back when she was ready. I didn't text. I didn't check her social media. I told myself this was respect. But really, it was fear that I'd see something I couldn't unsee. By the 10th day, I'd stopped counting. I'd stopped expecting. I was getting used to the quiet, even finding comfort in it. Until the 11th day, when her mum posted a photo. I was at work, eating lunch at my desk, scrolling without thinking. Then I saw it. "Linda S. tagged you in a post." My thumb froze. Her mum loved posting. She's the type who documents everything, every brunch, every vacation, every family moment. So I clicked. It was a picture of my girlfriend on a beach, somewhere warm. Her hair was tied back, her skin glowing under the sun. She looked happy, the happiest I'd seen her in months. But she wasn't alone. There was a guy next to her, tan, athletic, his arm around her waist like it belonged there. They looked comfortable, familiar, too familiar. The caption read, "So happy my girl finally found someone who makes her smile again." I didn't move, didn't blink. I just sat there, staring at that one sentence. My food went cold. My stomach didn't drop, just went still. That kind of stillness that comes when reality finally lines up with all the quiet suspicions you've been ignoring. I scrolled down. Comments flooded in. "Such a cute couple. They look perfect together. So happy for you, Linda." She was tagged in every photo. She'd liked all of them. And the best part, she hadn't even bothered to hide it from me. That was the moment. I stopped being confused and started seeing things clearly. I didn't text her. I didn't call. I didn't even unfollow her. I just locked my phone, leaned back in my chair, and let the silence sit. Because now I understood, when someone says they need space, what they really mean is they need cover. A little time to rewrite the story before you realize you're no longer in it. And honestly, I respected that clarity that night. I opened the Notes app on my phone and typed one line, Day 11, the day she stopped pretending. Then I turned off my phone, finished my drink, and went to bed. I didn't dream about her. Not that night, not ever again. The first week after that photo, I said nothing. I didn't block her, didn't unfollow, didn't message her mother. I just watched. From a distance, quietly. It's strange how when the noise stops, you start noticing all the details you used to ignore. The little inconsistencies, the patterns you brushed off. Before she asked for space, she'd already been disappearing. Cancelling plans last minute. Turning her phone face down during dinner. Saying she was just tired, but staying online past midnight. I told myself she was overwhelmed at work. I gave her excuses because love makes you do that. It trains you to rationalize what's already lost. Now, sitting there, scrolling through the comments under that beach photo, I realized how far ahead she'd been planning. You don't look that comfortable with someone you just met. That kind of ease takes time. And time meant overlap. I went back through my memory like I was reviewing a crime scene. The missed calls, the vague answers, the sudden solo weekends. Everything lined up. It wasn't chaos. It was choreography. A few friends reached out, people who'd seen the photo. Dude, you okay? One asked. I said, yeah, I'm good. And I was. Not happy, not heartbroken, just done. There's a kind of peace that comes with being right about the thing you didn't want to be right about. On the 10th night, she finally texted me. The message came at 11:47 p.m. Hey, I didn't mean for you to find out that way. I stared at the screen for a while. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I didn't care enough to respond. 10 minutes later, another one came. It's not what it looks like. That one made me laugh. Not out loud, just the kind of silent exhale you make when someone lies to you so badly it's almost polite. The next day, I got a message from her best friend, Anna. She shouldn't have done that. I told her it was wrong. I didn't reply. I didn't need validation. When people start defending someone before you even ask, it's usually because the truth is exactly what you think it is. I went about my life, work, gym, coffee, sleep. The same rotation, just cleaner now. No pretending, no waiting. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was organized, predictable. But the funny thing about silence is that it doesn't last. It never does. Because right when you start getting comfortable with the absence, the past has a way of knocking on your door literally. And a week later, that's exactly what happened. It was Saturday morning. The air smelled like rain. I was making coffee when I heard a knock, soft, hesitant, familiar. I didn't need to look through the peephole. I already knew she was standing there. Same hoodie I bought her last winter. Same perfume. Same tired eyes. Can we talk? She asked, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel anything. No anger, no longing. Just calm curiosity. Like watching the end of a movie you already knew the plot to. I opened the door, stepped aside, and said, sure. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that closure isn't given. It's performed. She walked in quietly, shoes still wet from the rain. That same perfume she always wore clean. A little floral, something that used to mean home. Now it just smelled like memory. I set my coffee down on the counter and said nothing. She stood there in the doorway like someone who wasn't sure if they were welcome. Which, to be fair, she wasn't. "Hey," she said softly. "Are you okay?" I almost laughed. It's a strange question, isn't it? When the person who broke you asks if you're fine. I said, "Yeah, I'm good." Flat. Simple. Because honestly, what else was there to say? She looked down, fidgeting with the sleeves of her hoodie, the same one I'd bought her last winter. "I didn't mean for you to find out that way," she started. "My mum shouldn't have." I cut her off. "Your mum didn't do anything wrong." Silence. A few seconds stretched longer than they should have. She took a slow breath and said, "It's not what you think." I tilted my head. "Okay, then tell me. What do I think?" She hesitated. "Ryan and we were just talking. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. It just happened." "It just happened," I repeated. "You know, people say that when they don't want to call it what it really is." Her voice cracked a little. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I nodded slightly. "But you did. And not by accident. You had choices. You just didn't pick me." For a second, she looked like she might cry. I remembered that look she used to wear it when she forgot her lines in a college play. Scared, not because she'd done something wrong, but because she'd been caught. "I just needed someone to talk to," she said quietly. "You were distant. You were calm all the time. I needed to feel something again." I took a sip of coffee, still warm. "So you found someone who made you feel chaos instead?" She blinked fast, trying to steady herself. "You don't understand. It wasn't about him. It never is," I said. "Until it is." The room went quiet again. I leaned against the counter, watching her eyes dart around, looking for something to fix, some thread of sympathy to pull on. But there wasn't any left. I wasn't angry. "Just done. You're not mad?" she asked. "Mad?" I repeated, "No." "What would that change?" "You made a choice. I'm just acknowledging it." Her lips trembled. "I'm sorry." "I know," I said. "But you're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry because I found out." That hit her. I saw it. Her posture stiffened, her shoulders sank, and for a brief second, the confident version of Hertha, one who walked out my door weeks ago, was gone. What stood in front of me was just a girl who made a bad decision and didn't know how to own it. She reached out, almost touching my arm, then stopped halfway. "You were the safest place I ever had," she said. "Maybe that's why I left. People don't stay where they feel too safe." I looked at her for a long moment, then replied, "Yeah, because sometimes people mistake safe for boring. And by the time they realize the difference, they've already lost both." She stood there for another few seconds, then turned, opened the door, and left. No tears, no goodbyes. Just the soft sound of rain swallowing her footsteps as she disappeared down the hall. And for the first time since she said she needed space, I finally believed her. She left without looking back. The rain outside had turned into a fine mist, the kind that doesn't soak you right away but stays long enough to chill your skin. The door clicked. Shuts, polite, final. Inside, the apartment went quiet. Not the kind of quiet that comforts you, but the kind that hums in your ears, steady and heavy, reminding you that something's missing. I stood there for a while, staring at the space she'd just walked out of. Same couch, same coffee mug, same everything. But somehow it all felt different, empty. The air still carried her perfume, faint and fading, like the echo of a memory that refuses to leave but no longer belongs. I sat down, ran a hand over my face, and took a sip of the cold coffee she'd left on the table. Bitter, stale, honest, later that night. I couldn't stay inside. The silence was too structured, too organized, like it was daring me to think. So I grabbed my keys and drove. No destination, no plan. Just streets and rain. The city lights blurred against the windshield, stretching like ribbons of color. At every stoplight, I saw faces, people laughing, arguing, talking on the phone, and realized how the world just keeps moving. No matter whose heart stops in the middle of it. I ended up at a small bar downtown, the kind of place where no one asks questions. A few people sat alone, nursing drinks, staring into nothing. I ordered a whiskey, neat. The first sip burned. The second didn't. I wasn't drinking to forget, just to feel, something that didn't lie. Her last words replayed in my head. People don't stay where they feel too safe. Maybe she was right. Some people crave chaos because calm feels too much like dying. But me, I've had enough chaos. I wanted peace. She wanted excitement. And maybe that's all love is. Sometimes a misalignment of what two people call living. Around 10, my phone buzzed. A text from her. Thanks for listening to me today. I stared at it for a few seconds. Then I set the phone face down. No reply, no delete. Just silence. Some messages don't deserve closure. They just deserve to stop existing. Driving home, the rain had stopped. The streets glistened under the orange streetlights. I rolled the window down. The cold air hit my face, sharp but grounding. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace, not happiness. Not sadness, just stillness. Back home, I didn't turn on the lights. I sat on the couch, let my eyes adjust to the dark. The apartment looked clean, empty, but not lonely. It felt like walking into a house after everyone's gone home a mess once, but now cleared, ready for something new. I thought about us, about how she laughed, how she used to trace circles on my hand while talking about her day. I thought about the way she said no contact, and how that phrase became a polite version of goodbye. Maybe that's the truth. Some people don't leave because they hate you. They leave because they've already stopped needing you. And once that happens, there's nothing to fight for. Before going to bed, I opened my notes app and typed, "Not everyone who leaves is wrong. Some people just confuse freedom with running away. But real freedom is this moment, quiet, clean, and honest." I locked my phone, leaned back, and took a deep breath. No drama, no ache. Just the sound of rain returning against the window, steady, soft, real dot. And for the first time since she walked out, I wasn't thinking about what I'd lost. I was thinking about what I'd finally found. The days that followed moved slowly, almost politely, as if time itself was learning how to move on with me. The apartment that once held two people now held just one, and the quiet hum of everything we used to ignore. The air conditioner, the kettle, the wind slipping through the cracks of the window. At first, the silence felt heavy. Then, somehow, it became peaceful. Funny thing about people leaving, they always leave pieces of themselves behind. Her grey hoodie still hung behind the door. Her white ceramic mug with a tiny crack still sat by the sink. The half-empty bottle of perfume still lingered in the bathroom. Each thing carried a trace of her, whispering the same ghostly line every time I passed by. "Don't forget me." One morning, while cleaning out the closet, I found an old photo. It was from her graduation day. She was laughing, sunlight catching in her eyes, and I standing beside her was looking at her in that quiet, devoted way only someone deeply in love can. I didn't tear it up. I didn't hide it. I just put it back where it was. Some memories don't need to be erased. They just need to be left untouched. Friends started calling, asking me to go out. They said I needed to move on, maybe meet someone new. I smiled, told them I was fine, and the truth was Diawas. I didn't need someone else to fill the space she left. That space wasn't a wound anymore. It had become a room I was learning to live in again. One evening, sitting in my car, watching city lights dance across the windshield, I thought about her. Not with pain, not with longing, but with a quiet kind of gratitude. Grateful she came. Grateful she left. Because if she hadn't, I might never have learned just how capable I am of standing alone. A month later, her name popped up on my phone. Double quotes, "Hey, how are you?" I stared at it for a while. No bitterness, no curiosity, just calm. Some questions don't need answers. The silence itself says everything. I put the phone down and went back to what I was doing. That night, I took a walk. The air was cool, the sky clear. Couples passed by, laughing, holding hands. From a cafe nearby, soft music drifted out into the street. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the emptiness pressing against me. Maybe I still remembered her, but I no longer wished she'd come back. Love doesn't always end with a fight or betrayal. Sometimes it ends when one person simply stops needing the other to breathe. When that moment comes, it's quiet, almost tender. No drama, no final scene. Just the truth. We loved each other, and that was enough. Before going to bed, I stood by the window, looking out at the city glowing under the night sky. I whispered, "I hope you find your peace too," the way I finally found mine. And as I watched the lights flicker in the distance, I realized maybe that's what growing up really means. Being able to smile at what once hurt you, and not wanting it back anymore. Time moved like calm water, steady, quiet, and finally without resistance. I started waking up earlier, making my own coffee, opening the window to let in the morning light. It's strange. That same sunlight once made the apartment feel painfully empty, but now it felt warm. Maybe peace doesn't arrive suddenly. Maybe it comes when you stop waiting for it. Work found its rhythm again. I began giving time to the small things I'd forgotten: cooking, running, reading, listening to old songs I used to avoid. Music that once reminded me of her now just sounded like music again. Sometimes I'd still see her name somewhere on old photo, a mutual friend's post, a random memory that slipped through the cracks. But it no longer hit me like it used to. It just passed by, gentle, almost tender. A quiet reminder that it once mattered. Evenings alone became something I looked forward to. I'd cook a simple dinner, turn on a soft jazz playlist, dim the lights, and let the city breathe outside my window. It wasn't loneliness anymore. It was peace. The kind that comes when you stop fighting the silence and start letting it stay. One weekend, sitting at a familiar cafe, a friend asked me if she ever came back. Would you take her back? I smiled, not quickly, not bitterly, just honestly. No, not because I hate her, but because we don't speak the same language anymore. She speaks in what-ifs. I only speak in right now. My friend went quiet. I took a sip of coffee and watched the sunlight reflect on the wooden table. In that moment, I realized not every love story needs a grand ending. Some just need to fade out softly, like a song you don't skip, but simply let finish. That night, I opened the closet. Her grey hoodie still hung there, the last trace of her in this place. I took it down, folded it neatly, and placed it in a box with a few other things. An old photo, some notes, a forgotten notebook. No sadness, no hesitation. Just a small ceremony of letting go. I carried the box down to the dumpster behind the building and set it down. The night was still, almost sacred. The wind brushed against my face, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from someone's garden. I stood there for a moment, not thinking, not remembering, just being, back inside. I turned off all the lights except the small lamp by the window. Its soft glow spilled over the room, warm and calm. I sat down, took a deep breath, and realized I had finally stepped out of the storm. Not wet, not cold, just clean. That's when it hit me. There's never really a final moment. You just wake up one day and realize you didn't think about them anymore. You didn't check your phone. You didn't replay conversations. You didn't ache. You just lived quietly, fully, and enough. And that's how it begins again. Not with fireworks. Not with someone new. Just a man, a cup of coffee, a clean shirt, and morning light through the window. No past, no rush for the future. Just now, and now is peaceful enough. It was an ordinary morning, no different from the others. I woke up early, made coffee, and turned on the old radio. A calm voice drifted through the static, mixing with the distant sound of cars outside. Just another quiet day. Yet somewhere in that moment, I realized how far I'd come, not in miles, but in peace. For a long time, I thought peace meant forgetting. That to move on, I had to erase everything, the memories, the voice, the face. But I've learned that forgetting never really happens. You can't force your brain to delete, or your heart to unforget. Real peace isn't about forgetting, it's about remembering without pain. Sometimes, she still appears in my dreams. Not in the haunting way she used to, but softly. She smiles, says something I can't quite hear, and then walks away. I wake up calm. No ache. Just a quiet kind of nostalgia, like remembering a season that has already passed. That's when I know I've truly let her go. One day, I passed by the street where we used to meet. The little cafe was still there, the same smell of pastries, the same corner table. Through the window, I saw a young couple sitting right where we once sat, laughing, leaning close. For a second, I smiled, not out of longing, but out of recognition. It felt like watching an old movie scene I once starred in, one that ended well enough. I've come to understand that sometimes we can't keep someone not because we aren't good enough, but because their story needs a different chapter. Maybe their leaving was life's way of teaching me patience, teaching me how to choose peace over pain, how to love without possession. At night, I often sit by the window, watching the city lights flicker across the skyline. Somewhere out there, someone's laughing, someone's crying, someone, like me, is simply sitting, still breathing, healing. None of us escape love without scars, but the difference lies in what we do with them. Keep them as wounds, or carry them as lessons. I choose lessons, because memories, when understood, make us softer, not weaker, just more human before going to bed. I wrote one last note in my journal. She taught me that love isn't always about staying. Sometimes it's about leaving at the right time, so both people can find the version of peace they deserve. I closed the notebook, placed it on the table, and turned off the light. The city outside was still glowing, still alive, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I was watching from behind. I wasn't peaceful because I forgot her. I was peaceful because I finally understood her. And maybe that's what real closure feels like.